Another must-have feature of EIB Analytics 2.18 is the all-new menu creator software. And what this allows us to do, it allows us to go from the EIB Analytics admin tab and to actually create some menus for our users, which are either calling perhaps reports or dashboards from the gallery, pivot tables, maybe online content, access to Power BI, and even executables, and to package all that so that when they open up the menu, rather than going into raw Excel and having to do file open, they've got a much nicer experience, a much more controlled experience. Now of course it was possible to create these menus in 2.15, but it was a much more manual process, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually highlight the differences between how we used to do it and how we can do it in 2.18. So if I go over to a menu created in a la carte 2.15, and let's say I wanted to add a new option to that menu, most of this is fairly manual. So if I wanted to add a new report, first of all I would need an icon. I'd have to either manually load that in, or I could take one of the objects that exists there already, Control C, Control V, and then here I would use the insert gallery link functionality. So I would go to EIB Analytics, insert gallery link, and then pick out a report that I wanted to add to the menu. So if I just bring out one of these reports, and I'll just duplicate one of these, let's have a trial balance report, and that puts a link in there for me, but it might not be formatted in the way I want. So what I would also do is I would go to one of the other cells here and do copy, and then here do paste special and copy the formats, and now I've got my new trial balance added. And now of course when I crank up the trial balance, it will now take me to the TB report, and when I then exit the trial balance, I'll be back to the menu. Now bearing in mind that menu was already set up, so I would have to go through and create each one of those icons like that. And imagine if you then said, well, I wanted to add 2 new menu options in here, in between here, I would have to manually cut and paste these links and icons down the page and replace them with newer ones that you wanted to add into the menu. So all doable. I can still make it look nice in a la carte 2.15, but nowhere near as automated as what we've done in 2.18. So let's look at how we could do that in 2.18. So if I actually, let me just stay on that. If I just do escape here and close this workbook that I have open, and in 2.18, if I go to the EIB administration tab, you'll see this new option here called menu creator. And what this will allow us to do is allow us to save the definition of a menu and then to generate a .xlsx file which our users will then consume at runtime. So when I click on menu creator, the 2.18 menu creator software comes up, and I can say I want to add a new menu. I want that new menu to be called EIB Analytics 2.18, and I want the title to be Management Information Main Menu. Now I can select all sorts of logos if I want to add logos into the menu, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new item here, and here I have quite a lot of choices. The first thing I'm going to do is add in a profit and loss report by time. Now you'll see that I have a number of actions available to me, and the first one I'm going to use is the default action, which is to pick an item from the gallery. But I can actually go out and pick a web URL, and I'll show you that later on, pick an executable, or go to a sheet, and that's another worksheet in the existing workbook. So if I wanted to have a main menu and then sub menus, then I could actually use this option to go to another sub menu, or I can open up the EIB Analytics gallery if I wish as well. But I'm going to choose gallery item there. I'm going to pick the gallery item I want. this one a profit and loss trend. And then the hardest bit of this is deciding what icon you're going to use. We provide a whole raft of icons as part of the menu creator option within EiB Analytics 2.18. So I've got a whole raft of these things here. I'm just going to pick any one here. So I can go down and say I want this as a P&L trend. So I'm going to make that trend. Click on OK. Click on OK. So I've now added my first one, and maybe I want to do a couple more there. So I'm going to put profit and loss cost center. Again, pick my report here, pick the item that I wish. So you can see here, very straightforward in terms of picking things here, picking the icon, and then I'm going to add another one here. I'm going to add a new one, but this time I'm going to go out to the web. Maybe you want to call something that I've done in Power BI. So I'm going to actually, I could call a particular URL here that takes me straight to a page, or I could go to a generic URL here. So if I go over here now and I've got a browser open somewhere here and I have this URL, I'm going to literally just cut and paste that in here. Maybe I've got my first two icons on the first row. Maybe rather than just keep going out to the right, maybe I want to start these on a new row. So I'm going to actually say for this one, start on a new row. I'm going to pick my icon here. As I said, what happens is we produce these icons in different colors. So you'll see that we have kind of color themes as you go down these icons. And eventually I should get to the yellow ones where I think the Power BI is. And you can see there's quite a range of icons we provide. I tell you what, rather than keep trying to find that, let me just pick that one. So now I've picked a URL here, and I'm going to add another one here. So I'm going to add another one, and this time I'm going to call an application. So I have Sage 50 available to me on here. So I'm going to pick here an executable, and I'm going to go in here. I've got my Sage accounts directory here. I'm going to pick Sage, and I'm going to pick an icon there. And last but not least, I'm going to add an item, but what I'm going to say is that if I've got all my reports here, but I might have some working reports that exist in a gallery, so rather than add everyone to the menu, maybe for the rest I just want to pop up the EiB Analytics gallery and allow the user to pick from there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add gallery, but I'm going to actually open this at a particular part in the gallery. It doesn't have to be just the generic gallery. I can pick a particular folder, and I want this to be the standard reports folder. So when I go to the gallery here, rather than actually pick a gallery item, I want to open the gallery, but I can open it at a particular point. So rather than getting a default would give me the entire gallery here, but I want to open it very specifically on the standard reports folder within the gallery. And again, if I just pick an item here, and I'm going to want that one actually starting on a new line as well. So now I've created a menu with 5 options there, 2 reports from the gallery, a link to Power BI on the web, a link to our Sage 50 executable on my laptop, and then actually opening up the gallery itself, but opening it in the standard reports folder. So I think I'm ready to go now with that menu, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create that menu. Now the first thing it's going to do is ask me to give it a name of a workbook here. So I'm going to go down here, and under new stuff here I'm going to call this EiB 2.18 main menu. And if I now say open the menu, you'll see now it will go back to Excel and produce this beautiful menu. How nice is that? How easy was that? And how nice as a packaged experience was that? So now if I click on profit and loss by time, it will go to the gallery and open up the P&L by time. If I go to the next menu option, profit and loss by cost center, it will do exactly the same here, now opening up my cost center report. If I come out of there and pick Power BI, then that we know is going to crank up a web browser page and take me to the Power BI login in this example. I asked whether I wanted to do Sage 50. Excel will give me a warning to say, are you sure you want to open an executable? And that will now crank up the Sage 50 application for me. And last but not least, I said, well, if all else fails, if there are a number of reports here, but I've got a catch-all where I just want to open up the gallery, then when I click on that, that will now open up the gallery and allow me to pick from that gallery and open that up accordingly. So hopefully that gives you an idea on how you can package the reports using EiB Analytics 2.18.